Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Scale Models Midwest. David here, as always. Been off the past couple weeks. Week before Thanksgiving, my brother and I went down to Missouri to take a look at the property my mom had when she passed away, and we got rained out and trying to get some of the yard cleaned up. They had over 3 inches of rain down in the West Plains area, and then come back for Thanksgiving, and pretty much 2 days after Thanksgiving, Des Moines got hit with about 11 inches of snow. And then yesterday, overnight into today, we got about another 5 inches or so of snow. And yeah, winter is here. So been working on getting the yard cleaned up, sidewalks, street, and what have you, driveway. So yeah, got that all squared away, and have not been at the table nearly as much as I've wanted to. But I've got some video here for you to show you what I did. And as you can see before you, I've got the sub-assemblies mocked up. I've got some ideas. Figured I'd share them with you right now. So let me go ahead and get right into it. First things first, kind of show you what I've been working on regarding the MPC 1988 Dodge Daytona Shelby Z. This one I've got kind of mocked up. The interior I've already got done. I didn't like the gauge that came with it, so I took a couple of gauges off of one of my hundreds of Salvino's JR decal sheet and put that together, and it looks actually pretty sharp. Got the chassis done up, got things ready to go, what have you. Got the engine built. I'll show you the chassis here in a moment, but everything's fitting together pretty well. And so right there, you may not be able to see the gauges to them. We'll try and see if I can shine a flashlight on it. So as you can see there, I think the gauges turned out a lot better. Hopefully you can see that through the camera lens. I can see it just looking at it right now. And of course, 80s era cell phone, which is about 5 times the size of our average everyday cell phone right now. But got that done. The body I had, again, previous video, I had used the Createx Wicked colors. I used Wicked Red, and I had ultimately 4 coats. And then of course I've got my 2K clear, which I have to still polish out. It's dry. I'm still gonna let it sit for another day or two before I start to polish it out. I think I did a pretty good masking job on the top and the outline of the car to match this. I think I did pretty good. So yeah, I liked it. The engine, the motivation is that turbo 2.2 liter, I think, or 2.4 liter. I built this when it first came out with the twin carbed V8, and I thought I would just do more of a box stock build this time out, so I did, and I like it. Other than that, you know, there's not much more on the Daytona. Like I said, once I get it's polished out, get the glass in, the rest of the engine pieces on, there's not too many pieces left. I'll have a lot of parts for the spares box, but ultimately that turned out pretty good. My traditional light colored interior, this time I went with a slate gray, and I think it looked pretty sharp. So, you know, I like that one. Can't wait till I get that one finished, hopefully in the week. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so first of all, the tires and wheels I got from, I'd like to say, if I remember correctly, I got these from Iceman. These are Krager Super Trick Drags. This is part W39. That's a set of 4, 15 by 5 and 15 by 16, which looks very much like what's there in the picture. So I went with that, and I sanded them, primed them, and then I shot a coat of silver as a base, and then I shot 2 light coats of Rust-Oleum Bright Coat Metallic Finish, this guy right here from Menards, and let that dry. Now this is what they look like One thing I noticed is that they are loose in the wheel or the tire. The fronts pretty much snap in, so I'm going to add some width around the rim on the inside. I've got some very, very thin plastic here, some evergreen. I'll probably cut a couple thin strips to put right around the rim edge so it won't fall off. But I like the chrome look. It looks very good without being too flashy like kit chrome that you have to spray with dull coat. Here are the front wheels, the 15x6s. Like I said, I think these came out really well. The thing I have ahead of me now is making sure that I've got some brakes, suspension parts and whatnot. I think I've got those from Iceman as well, and I will be mocking up the suspension for that. And then on to the actual body. I've got a video, which I'll include with this one today, where I did the masking on the rear to paint in black. Now, it looks kind of flat right now because, well, it is. It's semi-gloss black. The paint that I used for this one was right here, LP, was it LP5? Yeah, LP5 lacquer paint, which I also thinned out with some Mr. Color leveling thinner 400. Shot that at about 20 psi. I've got, I think ultimately the video shows a couple of coats. I put a third coat on before I took this off. I did take the tape off before it was fully dried, just to make sure I wouldn't have anything stick. And again, in the video, I did address this item here at the very end, which will be covered up by the burgundy paint, which I'm going to do next. And then right at the wheel well, I'm just going to touch that up a tad. But I think ultimately, when you look at that, it doesn't look half bad. It's not the first time I've done masking paints. You know, one of my favorite cars I've ever built of all time, and it's just pretty straightforward. It's been in some of the background of my video, was this right now very dusty AMT Riviera, which is one of my favorite cars of all time. If I can ever afford one and then convince my wife to let me buy it, this will be the car that I'll put in the garage. This will be the ride. This was the first ever time I did a two-tone paint job on any model, was this Buick Riviera. As you can see, I've got AMG Mercedes-Benz wheels and tires on this, and just a standard 430 twin carbureted Super Wildcat 445 in the engine bay. And as far as suspension, like I said, nothing more than the wire through the engine block and through the rear end. But it was just a very sharp kit. Bill Mitchell probably designed the most beautiful car ever made in production with this. So if I can't afford the real one, I can always have it in miniature. But that's my first two-tone paint job. If you notice, that was also done in semi-gloss black and metallic silver. It's the same silver I used on my Foose FD100 pickup truck that's in my thumbnail description. But anyhow, let me show you here on the kit. I've mocked up what it would look like with the tail lamp panel. I do have to cut that still because the trunk lid takes this middle section out. So I'm going to have to make sure I have that cut and then paint the parts that I have cut out, sanded, so that'll look all well and good. Front end doesn't look too bad. The roll cage, as you see, I've got one in there. It's just mocked up. I wanted to see if it would fit because about a year or two back, I was at Walmart and I picked up the AMT 67 Chevelle Pro Stock or Pro Street. This guy right here. And it's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. the roll cage looks like it would be a very good fit. There's a couple of things about it that I'd have to change. For one, I'll go ahead and take this apart so you can see, but obviously, you know, got the trunk lid going. When I lift it, well, I'm going to take this off here. When I open it up, I'm going to have the trunk all situated as the car starts to fall apart. The trunk lid comes up, comes out. All this is going to be chromed out, or probably the metallic finish from Rust-Oleum, but got that. Take off this part here. Now this is just a mock-up because I wanted to see if this roll cage would fit, one, and it does almost perfectly. I also wanted to make sure it would fit with the interior panels and the dashboard, and again, it fits almost perfectly. The Chevelle also has this, which is not in the magazine's article for the 65 Chevelle. When you look at it here, it kind of sort of has, it doesn't have the wheel tubs, but right here, if you can tell, I'm gonna bring that a little closer, it just looks like sheet metal. And I'm thinking, you know what, this would actually look pretty cool. It says Chevrolet on it. I could probably sand that, or I could leave it, you know, but it has little indents for the roll cage, and it fits perfect. Only difference that I see on this one is that, actually difference is I have to make this a little wider, and the rear doesn't have this, and it doesn't have this, the two diagonal bars. Likewise on the sides, there's one diagonal bar, not like this. Now, I've got this mocked up. I can easily pull it apart and adapt it, but it fits. So I'm thinking I'm going to take out this bar and this bar, cut a little notch here, warm this part up, and then slowly pull it down to where I've got that diagonal. It may or may not reach this part. If it doesn't, I can always take this and warm it up a bit, and then slightly bend it to meet. The middle part here, narrower. So I'm thinking I can go on ahead, widen that, which I plan on doing, put a wider bar in the middle, and then there's my roll cage. Then I just have to source a set of racing buckets, and I've already got the shifter, and then get that going. The engine I have yet to touch because I started working on some of the AN fittings I got from my local hobby shop, and I'm gonna have to really study how the blue and red AN fittings go together when you're doing things like the fuel lines, when you're doing things like the radiator hose and stuff, and looking also at what's in this engine here, because I want to get as close to matching as far as the engine's concerned as I can. And I'm using, again, a big block Chevy that came from Iceman, so I'm going to work on that. I'm going to let this sit for a couple of days, and then I'm going to tape off both the black and part of the silver, and then I'm going to use my burgundy paint, and then ultimately I've got to look at the orange and then the yellow. In the video I think I mentioned that I might use decals, but you know what, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to see if I can't just paint it. You know, I'm just going to airbrush it like before. Feeling pretty confident about it, not too overconfident, but again, that's the game plan. Probably the next couple of weeks. I might not get this completed by the end of the year for Jason's Street Machine group build, but you know what, still at it. You know, life sometimes takes priority. You know, we had some things we had to work on a house. We got rained out, came back. Had some other things to work on with work, of course, come back. Helping out some friends who were having some tough issues that they were dealing with, so went over to their place and helped them out. You know, so this takes a back seat. But when you get a chance, you know, to sit down, and I've done this over the past 3 days now, that you know, I've kind of gotten back into that routine, so trying to get a little bit better with my scheduling. The next couple weeks look pretty good. I'm actually taking a week off during the holiday,